by yourself. Don't dog talk nigga. You'll never get your day for real. Everybody get their time to shine. Like the leader. Every dog day got a brighter day coming. Like Fox said, be cool, your time come. Be cool, your time come. You ever been so broke, man?
Stuff like that. One, two, three. Look. I got the upper body. All right.
Fucking money looking funny, plus you wasting all that time on that woman. Switch it up, nigga. Feel it's cold, you be really out your soul, but your hand to keep you broke. Let it go, get it up, keep it real. You ain't prayed in a long time. Trying to buy a dream, had some J's in a long time. Gotta get off behind, he got a long time. You people tripping, gotta leave for you curse them out. Now you going through some things and you stressing out. Now you ain't no rap, and you gon' spit you out. You gon' get baby mama, take him about drama. You won't see your child, and she got mama loud. Nobody wanted to be famous. I had to go and get it. So looking for a hand, got to go and get it. My boy Big Man used to roll with me, walking to school one day and cold. Be cool, your time come. Be cool, your time come. My niggas be alright.
Yo, what up, though?
What up, though, my brother?
Hey, assalamu alaikum, beloved.
Salam, black.
Appreciate you taking the time out to visit and come and tap in Detroit, your experience. Cortez, give me a little background about your interests, where you come from, what has landed you here with an abundance of experience to be able to be an advocate for others to continue life and perpetuate positivity as opposed to the negative embrace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First of all, my brother, I want to say I appreciate the opportunity for allowing me to come in and tap in. We're from the east side of Detroit, 7 Mile and 75 area down by Purge, and the west side too. You know, I also lived over on Greenfield between Puritan and Finkel, and went to Cooley High School as well. So, you know, I got a little bit of both sides, but I'm east side all day.
So you homebred.
Oh yeah,
Detroit.
Oh,
313.
313 all day.
East side.
Yeah.
You know, I feel you. Red zone, all of that.
You know what I mean? You know, red zone a little bit further down, but definitely right there. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure.
Man, dropping my flag, picking up my life. Dropping my flag, picking up my life. Cortez D. Thompson. 313. Welcome to Detroit. Just tap in Detroit.
Tap in Detroit.
To process this into a book. How did you compress your life, your experience in a book, and then write another chapter after that to life?
That's good. I don't think nobody even asked me about that process that I went through. So for me, a lot of things in my book, in my memoir, I had a lot of unresolved issues that I never really understood until I started to go through all this therapeutic process of writing about my life. I had to relive a lot of events in my life. Some things, you know, we as black people, we become conditioned to trauma, you know what I mean? And, you know, we never really truly know how to deal with it. That's why one thing I do want to, you know, point out to is nowadays the mental health awareness. You know, it's very important because in our community we don't talk about, you know, the things that go on.
The mentality of the people have been curbed due to mental health issues. Depression is a big thing that black men do not know that they suffer from depression. They don't know that they suffer from PTSD. So tell me, as Cortez D. Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, these pages, these tales, this experience, Tell me, what is the impact with one who turns in a different direction from the streets towards a more morally corrected life? How did that impact your relationships with those whom you came up with? Was it, yo, bro, you sold out? Yo, can't trust this dude. How that play out for you?
Yeah, so for that transition and the impact of my transition, it played out with some of the so-called friends. In a sense, I really haven't had anybody who just came out and was like, "Ah, man, I don't rock with you no more, man. You dropped the flag, you ain't rocking with the bros no more." I've yet to have that happen, but I've been getting a lot less likes and a lot more views. If that makes sense on my stories, and from a lot of those guys. So that's definitely.
So do you think that you said that you get a lot less likes and more views?
Mm-hmm.
So in the viewing, do you think that they're looking at you for a weight, looking at you for failure, or looking for you to return back to the nation?
I believe it's a little bit of both, but I'm prepared for whatever it is. But I know that cats is looking at me and waiting to see if I'm sincere and what I'm doing, my actions, and waiting for me to fail. But being that I do know that, I put it all out there. I'm transparent. My process, is not over. You know what I mean? I'm still striving to be, who God allowed me to be. So, I don't fake it. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect. I get up every day and I try.
Yo, keep moving, brother. Keep moving, black man. Keep moving. We need positive examples in our community so the children not only have a positive example in image, but also in the likeness because of your ability to take the reins of your life back and put it in a motion that is more in a directive seat.
Yeah.
Because again, if you stood for the nations and a different program and the processes, I understand. I grew up in the inner cities, and I know how it go down.
Yeah.
So being loyal to the game goes to a point because the things that bridged us or bonded us to that process no longer exist. So today the children are mimicking images from video footage back in the days, but the presence of the real principalities that governed it,
That's not there.
is not there.
We just go about, reacting and assimilating a lifestyle that's really not of our own. But that's because of all the trauma and things that we went through that we haven't had the opportunity to fully process in the correct way.
Yes, sir.
So me writing my book and talking about some of my life experiences, it was very dramatic. I had to stop a few times. I cried a lot. To be honest, I had to sit down and reflect. I had to make some phone calls. I had to make amends. I had to make atonement. A lot of things I pushed away from my mind to not deal with it. Just so I could just go about throughout my day. Because if we take a good look, and we self-analyze, the things that we've been through, we understand that, a lot of these things take away from us. So we have to find ways to put these things back in us to make us back whole. So yeah, man, this process was hard, man. But making the books, I think was one of the best things in my life because I was able to fully get out all of my emotions and my feelings, to tell my stories so that one day somebody can read the book and potentially. I can divert them from going through some of the things I went through, years in prison, over a decade, getting shot up,
Yes,
what I mean, going through all the horrible experiences that I've been through.
As an advocate, what is the number one question that you're faced with when you face those who don't know anything about that world? As an advocate, what do you do to process that energy that's necessary for you to be an example of life where no example has never been.
So what I do just to, be again transparent to convey the message I'm trying to convey. I don't try to put on no presentations. I don't go in it and I don't plan. When I go and talk to the youth, when I talk to the community, and I give a portion of myself, I just give it straight drop. You know what I mean? Direct. I don't dress it up. I don't try to feed it to somebody in a different way. I just give it to them exactly how it was given to me, raw. Because I learned that, once your passion is connected to your work and you're being truthful in what you're doing, it'll resonate with the right people. So, everything is not for everybody. You know what I mean? Some people like their food cooked in the microwave. Some people like it in the oven. Some people want it quick. Some people, wanted to, wait a little while. So, everything ain't for everybody. But if I could just reach that one person to change their life, then I did my job. So.
I see you got "Put Your People On" T-shirts. The hat is the umbrella to to a much needed program. Hey, PYPO. Let me see what that merch look like.
Yeah.
Right? Can you show me one of those shirts? Let me see that so the people, when they getting out here in the city, they understand what it is. All right.
That's the movement, man. Put your people on, man.
Put your people
on. It's all
on.
in the mission. It's all in the name. You gotta represent that.
Represent that. Yes, sir. Put your people on.
And I got a shirt for you too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Well, we're in the process of our people. Put your people on. That's what Tap In Detroit is about.
Yeah.
Putting our people on, putting them in the right position so that they can excel and be. The Holy Quran teaches us that Allah taught by the command of be, kun fa kun, which is being it is. So you out executing your plan with motion. You manifesting.
Yes, sir.
You manifesting the reality in your personage, not just by verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
You boost to the streets and your relationships. You blended them with your experience.
You know what I mean? But those things that I've been through, they don't define me. I wrote that and it's closed. That book is closed. And
yes,
now I'm entering into, like you say, the new chapter of my life where I'm not, troubling people or hurting people or, being in death and destruction to my community. And now I'm just trying to build and create.
So tell me, in putting your people on, in the process of developing a conversation with your audience and those who view your process and your being and the application of yourself, tell me what type of tool would you suggest or recommend to a brother in your situation, to a young man who's looking up to the leadership inside of his community? What type of tool would you suggest for them to use to help curb the narrative of the typical black child raised in the hood?
Courage. That's the tool that I would give a young man or a young woman looking to better themselves. Courage. You have to have courage. You have to have courage to even be able to ask someone, man, how can I better myself? Find that person that you look up to, whether it's, morally, spiritually, economically. We can learn something from anybody. You can learn something from food as to what not to do. You look at the people out here in the streets that's, creating and propagating chaos and madness. You can look and see the condition of their lives and be like, I don't want to be like that. So, it's a learning lesson from everything. But I would have to say courage. It took courage for me to drop my flag and, divorce my old ways to walk into the new. So if I didn't have that heart you know, then I would still be there down the line.
Tell me, where can they find your book? Where can they find merch? Where can they find Cortez? Where can they find putting my people on? Where can they find you in your process?
Well, you can find me out here. I'm out here. You know what I mean? Like they say, I'm outside. I'm outside. I'm out here putting in the work. You know what I mean? I'm where I need to be for my people. I'm proactive. I'm out here in the community. I'm out here with the youth. I'm working with the youth, mentoring. But specifically, you can purchase my book, Dropping My Flag, Picking Up My Life on Amazon. Type in the name and title of the book. You can type in my name, Cortez Thompson. You can look up the merch, you know, putyourpeopleon.com. Also, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under the same names. You know what I mean?